Hey guys, it's Cece, and today I am here to talk about 5 books I think I am going to give 5 stars to. So in case you haven't watched it, I recently uploaded a video wrapping up my previous 5-star TBR predictions. I talked about the 5 books I put on my original list, what I rated them, gave them decently long reviews. Mild spoiler alert, but my predictions were fairly accurate, and I did wind up really enjoying all 5 of those books. So if you want 5 books that I really loved, go check out that video. Today I am talking about 5 new books that I think I am going to give 5 out of 5 stars to. So I have my list sitting next to me. They are 5 books that I own, which means I think I'll actually get to them sooner rather than later. Much like my original list, I have 2 YA books and 3 adult books, so maybe that's going to be a theme. But without further ado, let's get into them in no particular order. Here are 5 books I think I'm going to give 5 stars to, and why. So first up, I have The Poet X by Elizabeth Acevedo. This is a YA book. It is a novel in verse, and it is about a main character named Xiomara as she uses slam poetry to help understand her place in the world since growing curves, to understand her mother's relationship to religion. This was on pretty much everybody's favorite books of 2018 list, and I just barely got a copy for my birthday. Thank you again to Owl. I have been reluctant to read novels in verse because I had some sort of weird negative relationship to poetry, or at least, I never established a relationship to poetry, and so I've sort of just always known innately that I wouldn't enjoy it, which is an odd thing for me to know innately. You know, you should probably try the things that you think you're not going to like, and after reading some poetry recently, I've been coming to terms with the fact that I should give more poetry a try. So because everybody absolutely loved this book, I have a lot of very high expectations for it. I think I'm really going to enjoy it. So this is the first book on the list. Maybe I will read it soon, and maybe it will end up on my favorites of the year, just like it was on everybody else's. Next up, we have The Luminous Dead by Caitlin Starling. This is a recent 2019 release. It is horror speculative fiction. It is about sort of a messed up relationship between 2 girls, one of whom lied her way into an expedition, and the other who is overseeing this expedition and has no qualms about controlling this girl through drugs, through withholding information. And the further they get into this expedition, the more ominous it becomes, the more the main character thinks that someone is watching her, the more they discover that things might be lurking in this cave they didn't know about. This has been very high on my list of anticipated releases because it sounds fucked up and fascinating. Also, I wanted to put a Harper Voyager title on this list because on my last list, Long Way to a Small Angry Planet was one of my predictions, and I wound up loving it, so I thought, like, why not throw it out there, grab another Harper Voyager book, because they are books that tend to not be in my comfort zone, but, like, I end up really liking them. Plus, I am all for, like, weird, speculative horror about queer girls. That sounds just incredibly up my alley. I have a feeling this is gonna kind of haunt me as the days go on, but I think it's going to haunt me in a good way, and I am excited to be horrified. I also have Vengeful by V.E. Schwab. This is another one that's taking a cue from my original list. In my list last time, I chose a book by one of my favorite authors to see if I would like more of their work, and I'm doing the same this time because my ratings for Victoria Schwab tend to skew very high. In particular, her adult titles, I have given almost all of them 5 out of 5 stars, including the first book in this series, Vicious. This has been sort of the long-awaited follow-up to Vicious, which is a book about 2 college roommates who discover that the key to superpowers is near-death experiences, and the novel follows them, like, as they're making that discovery, and then 10 years later, when one of them has just broken out of prison and is intent on murdering the other. So this is the continuation of that series, which we're getting a new main character, Marcella. Marcella is one of the new main characters of this book, and I have very high expectations. The only books of Victoria Schwab's that I haven't rated, like, a 4.5 or above are This Savage Song and her Steel Prince comic, so I have very high expectations for Victoria's writing. I really love it. I think I'm going to continue to be invested in this series, so we will have to see how I feel about this book. But I personally think I'm going to give it 5 stars. That's just me, though. Me reflecting on me, I guess. Second to last, we have The House of Impossible Beauties by Joseph Casarra. So this is set in the 1980s in New York City, and it is about the Harlem ball scene. And in particular, this book is focusing on the House of Extravaganza, which is a real house that existed, and it was the first all-Latinx house. So this book is kind of taking inspiration from that real house, which was made famous by the documentary Paris is Burning, and it is fictionalizing some of those real people who were part of the house, but it is really just fleshing out this particular period of time, engaging with the AIDS crisis which was going on at the time. This sounds brilliant. In the past couple of years, I've discovered that I enjoy historical fiction that is set in the 20th century. It's just, that's the time period I most like reading about. I like reading more recent history than, you know, any earlier. But more than just reading history, I like reading queer history. I like getting to know more characters set in particular time periods, especially a story like this that is going to be based in reality and really exploring what queer life was like in the 80s in New York City. More than just queer life, but queer people of color. This has just come so highly recommended, and I think it's really in line with a lot of the different types of books I've discovered in the past couple of years recently that I really love. So hopefully I will be reading this book in June. Hopefully, I'm gonna say hopefully like a couple more times, just hopefully in case. But the point is, I think I'm going to give this book a very high rating for all those reasons, and we'll just have to see. And the final book on this list is Girls of Paper and Fire by Natasha Ngan. This is a YA fantasy that features a female-female romance. So in this world, every year, how many girls? 8 girls are chosen to be paper girls to a king. So paper is sort of the lowest caste in this universe, and 8 of them are chosen every year, and they go to live with the king. And, like, to an extent, I believe they're sex slaves. Like, this has huge trigger warnings for sexual assault, sexual abuse, but it is about 2 of those paper girls falling for each other and struggling to escape this palace and escape the demon king who is keeping them there. This has come out to some incredibly rave reviews. I was really excited about it last year and didn't get the chance to read it before 2018 ended, but I really want to read it so that I can read the sequel, because the sequel is coming out later in 2019. But this just sounds like exactly my kind of book. I think it's going to be incredibly interesting and a little horrifying, but so many of my friends have loved this book. I don't know how I could not also love this book. So here you go. This is the list. This is my new 5-star TBR predictions list. The new 5 books I think I might give 5 stars to. If you have read any of these books and liked them or hated them, let me know down in the comments below. I would love to hear more of your thoughts in preparation for reading these books. Other than that, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you in another video very soon. Bye!